The intrigue surrounding the mark of the beast has captivated people across generations, creating a mysterious link between the past and the present. For centuries, the apocalyptic prophecies found in the Bible, particularly in the book of Revelation, have sparked a blend of fear and curiosity. These biblical accounts, rich with symbolism and deep spiritual teachings, leave many pondering the true meaning of this mark. When John the Apostle recorded his visions, he was isolated on the island of Patmos, a place of solitude and profound contemplation. It was here that he received revelations that would shape theological thought for centuries to come, and these narratives continue to resonate with power and relevance today. The mark of the beast, set within this context, emerges as a puzzle that has been interpreted in various ways over time, influenced by different historical and cultural perspectives. The prophecy mentioned in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18, raises questions that feel more relevant than ever. In an increasingly globalized and connected world, where technology progresses at a rapid pace, many wonder if we are witnessing the early signs of this prophecy coming to fruition. The concept of a system of total control, where no one can buy or sell without that mark, seems less far-fetched in today's reality. This invites reflection on the connection between ancient writings and the modern world. Understanding these biblical stories is crucial, as they hold valuable insights for interpreting contemporary times. Exploring the mark of the beast goes beyond mere fascination with horror stories or conspiracies. It represents a quest to understand how these prophecies might apply to our lives today. The Bible, in its wisdom, provides clues and guidance, but it is up to each individual to interpret and discern the meaning of these messages in a world that appears to be on the brink of significant change. As we delve deeper into the Bible's history, we realize that these ancient texts are not just relics of the past, but rather timeless guides meant to help us navigate uncertain times. John, the Apostle, endured days of forced isolation on the Isle of Patmos, a place meant to silence his voice. Yet, it was in this barren land, where solitude met eternity, that John experienced one of the most profound and unsettling visions in the Bible's history. He saw, with spiritual insight, scenes no one before him had ever seen. These visions, rich in symbolism and shrouded in mystery, formed the foundation of a narrative that has echoed through the centuries. Amid his exile, John was given not just a glimpse of the future, but a revelation filled with powerful spiritual teachings, connecting the visible with the invisible, the temporal with the eternal. The images John describes are striking in their intensity: beasts rising from the sea, formidable dragons, and the throne of God himself. The human mind struggles to fully grasp what he witnessed, yet the Bible offers us these visions to encourage us to seek their meanings. One of the most renowned of these visions is that of the beast emerging from the sea. This figure, a fusion of power and malevolence, symbolizes forces that go beyond mere human wickedness. What does this beast represent? What powers does it embody? John leaves us with more questions than answers, but it is in this very mystery that the strength of biblical stories lies. This beast, with its 10 heads and 7 horns, has intrigued scholars and theologians throughout the ages. Could it be a representation of ancient empires, or perhaps a premonition of future tyrants? The story of the Bible shows us that each generation seemed to find, in the figure of the beast, a reflection of its own anxieties and fears. However, beyond the historical interpretations, there is a deeper lesson. The battle between good and evil is a constant, and John's vision reminds us that evil, although powerful, is destined to be defeated. Thus, as we read these biblical teachings, we are invited to reflect on the forces that govern our world, both visible and invisible. And as we delve deeper into these revelations, we must ask ourselves, what do these visions mean for us today? In the modern world, where the line between good and evil often seems blurred, these biblical stories offer us a moral compass. At the heart of apocalyptic prophecies is a symbol that arouses both fear and fascination: the number half, half, half. Revelation chapter 13, verse 18 mentions this enigma that, over the centuries, has been interpreted in countless ways. But what does this number really mean? In one of the most iconic passages in the Bible, John describes the mark of the beast, a sign that would identify those who follow the path of corruption and evil. For many, the half, half, half it represents not just a number, but a code, a secret hidden in biblical stories that offers profound biblical teachings about the choices we make on our spiritual journey. Over the centuries, different cultures and eras have offered their own interpretations for the number half, half, half. In the Roman Empire, for example, it was believed that the number could be associated with Emperor Nero, whose name, when translated into numbers in Hebrew, added up to half, half, half. This type of numerology, present in the history of the Bible, reveals how people sought to understand and apply these prophecies in their own lives. Each new generation has its own interpretations, often linking the half, half, half to contemporary figures or events, such as tyrannical leaders or systems of global control. It is a reminder that prophecy, no matter how old, never ceases to be relevant. Today, in a world where technology advances by leaps and bounds and the concept of surveillance becomes increasingly real, many question whether the half, half, half it could be related to modern identification or control systems. Are microchips or digital systems the modern manifestation of this ancient prophecy? The Bible, in its wisdom, invites us to reflect on these possible parallels. When considering the relevance of half, half, half nowadays, it is impossible not to think about the way in which humanity continues to repeat patterns of power and domination that date back to ancient times. These biblical teachings challenge us to be attentive, to discern what is behind appearances. And as we reflect on the deep meaning of half, 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 we must ask ourselves, what does this brand represent in our lives? Perhaps more than a simple number, it is a call to spiritual vigilance, a constant reminder that evil can disguise itself in many forms. As we continue to explore these biblical stories, we are led to question our own choices and the way we position ourselves in the world. And so, the mystery of half, half, half leads us to an even deeper reflection on the identity of the beast and what it means in our time. The identity of the beast has been the subject of intense speculation and debate over the centuries. For many scholars of biblical stories, the figure of the beast can be seen as a symbolic representation of the tyrannical empires that oppressed God's people. In ancient Rome, for example, it was believed that the beast was a direct reference to Emperor Nero, known for his cruelty and persecution of Christians. This understanding is part of the biblical teachings that warn against the dangers of absolute and corrupted power. The story of the Bible teaches us that these tyrants, symbolized by the beast, appear repeatedly throughout history, each time with a new face, but always with the same destructive essence. The figure of Antichrist, who is often associated with the beast, has also evolved in the popular imagination over time. In the Middle Ages, for example, the Antichrist was seen as a corrupt religious leader who would bring deception and destruction. In modern times, especially in popular culture, this figure is often portrayed as a political leader or a global force seeking to dominate the world. These biblical teachings have been adapted to fit the fears and anxieties of each generation. The Bible, in its wisdom, shows us that evil can manifest itself in different ways, and the challenge is to recognize these manifestations in our own time. These days, with conspiracy theories on the rise, the identity of the beast is often debated in relation to contemporary figures and global systems of power. Some see the beast in technological advances, others in globalization and the financial institutions that seem to control the destinies of nations. These modern interpretations show how the story of the Bible continues to be relevant, offering a lens through which we can analyze current events. Although these theories are often controversial, they reflect a deep desire to understand and resist what many perceive as a threat to freedom and faith. The vision of global control, where no one can buy or sell without the mark of the beast, is one of the most disturbing and powerful images in biblical prophecy. In Revelation, John describes a system in which individual freedom is suppressed and people are forced to submit to absolute power. This idea resonates deeply in a world where technology advances rapidly and the lines between privacy and state control become increasingly blurred. Biblical stories alert us to the dangers of a system that, in the name of order, subjugates free will and faith. These biblical teachings are more than warnings. They are guides to discern the truth in a world full of deception. With the advent of technologies such as microchips, many believe that we are approaching a reality where global control, described in Revelation, could come to fruition. The idea of implants that can track every movement or financial transactions that can be monitored by a single centralized system echoes the fears expressed in biblical stories about the mark of the beast. This scenario no longer seems so distant, and many wonder if these technological innovations are a harbinger of the fulfillment of these prophecies. The story of the Bible challenges us to consider the extent to which technology can be used for good or evil, and what the spiritual implications of living in such a connected world are. Globalization, with its promise of uniting the world into a single economy and system of governance, also raises troubling questions. Are we heading towards the creation of a new world order where a single power rules over all nations? These concepts, often discussed in conspiratorial contexts, find roots in apocalyptic prophecies, where a unified global system would be one of the beast's tools to control humanity. Biblical teachings encourage us to question these trends, to discern the intentions behind global policies, and to protect freedom of conscience and faith in an increasingly standardized and controlled environment. In times of darkness and oppression, faith becomes the bulwark of courageous hearts. The Bible offers us countless examples of resistance, where the unshakable faith of individuals in the face of deadly threats becomes a light in the darkness. Refusing to worship the beast, as described in Revelation, requires courage that few can imagine. But the story of the Bible teaches us that true strength lies not in the ability to resist physically, but in spiritual steadfastness, in the decision not to give in, even when the entire world seems to be leaning towards evil. These biblical teachings are a powerful reminder that in the midst of trials, faith is our greatest weapon. Daniel, thrown into the lion's den for refusing to abandon his devotion to God, is an emblematic example of this resistance. Like their three friends who faced the fiery furnace for refusing to worship a golden image, these biblical characters show us what it means to remain faithful in the face of danger. They teach us that endurance is not just a matter of physical strength, but of spiritual conviction. These biblical stories are more than narratives of bravery. They are guides for all of us, showing that when we face trials, we can find strength in the examples of those who have gone before us. The role of martyrs, those who chose death rather than renounce their faith, is central to the story of the Bible. These individuals, whose lives were sacrificed for their devotion, remind us that true faith often demands a high price, but it is precisely through their sacrifices that the biblical teachings about courage and endurance come to life. They show us that even when the world pressures us to give in, there is a higher power that sustains us. And as we look back on these dedicated lives, we are called to reflect on the depth of our own faith and our willingness to resist the forces that try to pull us away from our principles. And as we follow in these footsteps of courage, we ask ourselves, are we ready to face our own trials? The Bible challenges us to consider what it really means to be faithful in times of adversity. Accepting the mark of the beast, as described in Revelation, is not a choice without consequences. The Bible is clear in describing the fate of those who choose to follow this path. The cup of God's wrath, mentioned in Revelation chapter 14, verse 10, is a symbol of the divine judgment that will be poured out on those who surrender to the power of the beast. This cup, full of divine indignation, represents the justice that will inevitably fall upon those who choose evil. In biblical stories, we see that God is patient, but his justice is certain, and this final judgment is one of the pillars of biblical teachings. The lake of fire, the final destination of the beast's followers, is perhaps one of the most terrifying images in the Bible. Described in Revelation chapter 20, verse 15, this lake is the place where all those whose names are not written in the book of life will meet their eternal sentence. Biblical stories warn us about the danger of following a path of destruction, and the lake of fire serves as a grim reminder that evil will not go unpunished. For many, this image is an urgent call to reflect on our own lives and the choices we make daily. The story of the Bible shows us that in the end, every action has a consequence, and God's judgment is infallible. Yet even amid these images of condemnation, the Bible offers a message of hope for the faithful. The triumph of the saints, those who resisted and remained steadfast in the faith, is a recurring theme in biblical teachings. These faithful ones will be rewarded for their perseverance and for choosing the path of righteousness, even when the forces of evil seemed overwhelming. The story of the Bible shows us that although the path is difficult and full of trials, those who remain steadfast will be rewarded with eternal life. This promise of victory is a light that guides the faithful through the darkness. After the tumult of apocalyptic prophecies, the Bible presents us with a vision of hope, the New Jerusalem. This sacred city, described in Revelation chapter 21, appears as a symbol of renewal and redemption. It is the place where God will make all things new, a brilliant contrast to the judgment and destruction that came before. In the biblical stories, the New Jerusalem is more than just a city. It is the fulfillment of divine promises, a place where there will be no more tears, pain, or death. These biblical teachings lead us to a future where peace and justice prevail, offering a vision of eternity that brings comfort and hope to the faithful. The New Jerusalem is vividly depicted with streets of gold, gates of pearl, and radiant walls, all reflecting God's glory. Yet beyond this physical splendor, the city symbolizes the fulfillment of the Bible's narrative, where the chosen ones live in perfect harmony with their Creator. This vision of a fresh beginning serves as an invitation to all seeking redemption. Through these powerful images, the Bible encourages us to maintain our faith, reminding us that the challenges we face in this world are temporary and that our true reward lies in eternity. The role of the chosen in the New Jerusalem is a key theme in biblical teachings. These are the individuals who resisted the mark of the beast, remained faithful during times of tribulation, and now inherit the divine promises. The Bible illustrates that faithfulness is rewarded, and that the righteous are destined for a future filled with peace and happiness. In the New Jerusalem, the faithful will not only find rest, but also a renewed purpose, living in a world governed by divine justice, where God's love illuminates everything. Although written thousands of years ago, biblical prophecies resonate with remarkable relevance today. As we observe the rapid technological advancements and increasing surveillance in the modern world, many wonder if we are witnessing the beginning of the end. The fear of an apocalyptic scenario, where technology is used to control and monitor every action, has moved from the realm of conspiracy theories to a genuine concern. Biblical stories, particularly those about the mark of the beast, prompt us to reflect on the implications of these changes. These teachings warn of the dangers of centralized power and encourage us to question the motives behind such innovations. The global economy also appears to be trending towards a more unified system, where national borders dissolve in favor of a single economic order. Many view this as a prelude to what is described in Revelation, a world system under the control of the beast. The Bible shows us that when power is concentrated in the hands of a few, it can easily lead to tyranny. These modern parallels make us reconsider how much freedom we are willing to sacrifice for the sake of convenience or security. The Bible provides valuable lessons on the importance of maintaining our spiritual and moral autonomy, even in the face of external pressures. However, biblical prophecies also offer a message of hope. Although the world seems on the verge of significant change, the Bible assures us that divine justice will ultimately prevail. Even amidst chaos, there is a divine order governing all things, and this order will be restored. The teachings of the Bible, which emphasize faith and resilience, inspire us to hold on to hope and trust in God's plan, even when circumstances appear bleak. These lessons remind us that, although we may endure trials, they are temporary and part of a greater divine purpose. As we contemplate these connections between biblical prophecy and the contemporary world, we are called to keep our faith and integrity unwavering. If you're interested in having a Bible like the one we use in our studies, check out the link in the first pinned comment. If you enjoy our content and can support our channel, consider buying us a coffee through Buy Me a Coffee. Additionally, if you can purchase a crucifix, we also have a link in the first pinned comment. We greatly appreciate your support. God bless, and see you in the next video.